Let me tell you something, my friends. You know the story all too well because you lived it. You were the one who gave, the one who showed up, the one who rearranged your world just to make space for them. You sent the long messages. You waited on the replies that never came. You forgave what most people would never forgive. And still, they acted blind. They treated your loyalty like it was cheap. They treated your effort like it was expected. Some of you were in a relationship where your heart was loyal, but theirs was wandering. Others of you tried to win someone over, but no matter how much you offered, they pushed you away again and again. And each rejection cut deeper, not because you were weak, but because you loved with honesty while they played with arrogance. At first you thought maybe if you gave more, they'd finally see your worth. Maybe if you stayed patient, they'd realize who you really were. But here's the harsh truth, folks. People rarely value what is always available. Like water flowing every day from a faucet, they assumed you'd never run dry. They believed your presence was permanent, something they could take for granted, something they could even mock and replace without losing anything, and that lie almost broke you. They wanted you to believe you were replaceable, that your love was ordinary, that you were the one who lost. But deep down, you've always known the truth. Rare things are never valued until they are gone. Then came the shift. Not with a fight, not with a loud explosion, not with one last desperate text. It came with stillness. It came when you finally stopped trying, when you let silence fall like a curtain closing on the stage. At first, they thought they had won. They leaned back, smug and satisfied, whispering to themselves, "See? I knew it. They gave up. They're broken." To them, your silence looked like surrender. They believed the story ended there. But here is the lie I want to break right now. Silence is not the ending. Silence is the beginning. Silence is not your defeat. Silence is your first step into power. Think of silence like a storm at sea. On the surface, the water looks calm. Sailors on the shore might laugh, saying, "Nothing's happening out there." But beneath the waves, the current is shifting, the pressure is building, and when it rises, it crashes with unstoppable force. That's your silence. They think it's emptiness, but really, it's the pressure of change, the weight of transformation. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Your silence was never about them. It was about reclaiming your mind. It was about protecting your peace. But let me tell you this, my friends. Silence alone is not enough. Silence shakes them, yes, but silence is just the seed. There is one move after silence that changes everything. One move that flips the entire game, that makes them restless in their own bed, that makes them wonder what you're doing, who you're with, why you're not chasing them anymore. When you take that move, their pride begins to crumble. Their laughter fades into regret, and their mind becomes trapped in the loop of what they lost. They thought silence was your weakness, but in truth, silence was your weapon. And after silence, you hold the power to make them see you in a way they never did before. So here's what I want you to take in right now. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not replaceable. You are rare, and silence is the proof that you no longer beg to be seen. You know your own worth. And when you add the move I'm about to reveal, you don't just walk away, you rise. You transform. You become untouchable. Say it with me right now. I rise after silence. Write it in the comments so it becomes real, so the world can see your strength. Press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, my friends. Because your silence is not the end. It's the beginning of a whole new story, and the move that comes next will change everything. All right, my friends, pause for a second and really let this sink in. You've been carrying these words in your chest, nodding along, feeling every line because you know it's your story. But don't just let it float around in your head. Make it real. Declare it. Own it. There is power in speaking truth, And there is even more power in writing it down where the world can see it. That's why I want you to stop scrolling for just one moment and type it out. I rise after silence. Not tomorrow, not later, right now. Put it in the comments and let it be your stamp, your proof that you're done bowing, done chasing, done breaking yourself for people who never saw your worth. And don't think this is just another comment on another video. It's not. It's a promise you make to yourself in front of everyone else. It's a line in the sand saying, "This is who I am now." When you write it, you're telling the universe you've shifted. You're no longer waiting for their validation, you're choosing your own power. So don't just sit there with the thought. Act on it, step into it, type it, seal it. If these words lit something inside you, if they made your heart beat a little harder, then don't let it stop here. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because this journey doesn't end with silence. It begins there. And what comes next, my friends, is the move that flips everything. So say it one more time out loud with me. I rise after silence. Now write it, claim it, breathe it. Because the moment you do, you'll feel the shift. And that's when everything changes. Number 1, the shift of power. Silence breaks the cycle. My friends, let me take you deeper into this story, because this is the part most people never see coming. At first, when you go silent, when you stop sending those long messages and you stop chasing after someone who treated you like an option, it feels like you've lost. It feels like they're the ones with the power and you're the one left behind. You imagine them smiling, laughing, moving on without a care in the world, while you sit in the quiet with your thoughts echoing in your chest. And that quiet at the beginning feels unbearable. Your own mind whispers questions you don't want to hear. What if they never notice? What if they never regret it? What if my silence doesn't matter to them at all? That's the trap of your thoughts, the temptation that tries to pull you back into chasing. Because silence is not easy. It feels like holding your breath in a world that only taught you how to scream. But here's where everything changes, folks. Because silence is the moment the shift of power begins. When you stop feeding them your attention, when you stop rewarding their arrogance with your loyalty, something breaks in the cycle. You see, most people live off something psychologists call intermittent reinforcement. Let me explain it to you in simple words. When you keep giving your love, your patience, your energy, but they only return it sometimes, just enough to keep you hooked, that inconsistency traps you. One day they respond, one day they don't. One day they give you affection, the next day they pull it away. And every time they do that, your heart holds on tighter, desperate to win back the reward, desperate to fix the broken rhythm. That's why you kept trying, why you kept forgiving, why you kept hoping, because your brain was wired to chase that little glimpse of affection like a gambler chasing one more win at the slot machine. But here's the power of silence. You break that pattern. You take away the game. You stop spinning the wheel, and suddenly, they're the ones restless. Think of it like this. Imagine a person standing at a vending machine. Every time they press the button, candy falls out. Sometimes it falls fast. Sometimes it takes a while. But eventually, it always comes. That's you. The one who always gave, no matter how they treated you. But what happens the day they press the button and nothing drops? At first they laugh, they shrug it off. They think, oh, it's just broken today. Tomorrow it'll work again. They try again and again, still nothing. And that's when frustration sets in. That's when the questions start creeping into their mind, the same way they once crept into yours. Wait, what happened? Why isn't this working anymore? Where did the response go? Why doesn't this person chase me like they used to? That's the shift of power. That's the moment your silence flips the whole dynamic on its head. because you're no longer the one stuck in the cycle, waiting for crumbs of affection. You're the one who stopped playing the game, and now they're the one who feels the emptiness you left behind. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." And that's exactly what happens here. They don't realize it yet, but your silence forces them to confront their own behavior. They start to feel the void they created, the shadow of themselves staring back, showing them the cost of their arrogance. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but what if they don't notice at all? What if my silence really means nothing to them? My friends, let me ask you something. How could it mean nothing? You were the one who carried the connection, the one who poured life into it when they offered nothing but drops. Your energy was the heartbeat, and without you, there is no rhythm left. At first, they might distract themselves, fill the space with noise, pretend they don't care, but psychology proves it. The human mind does not forget what gave it comfort. The moment the comfort is gone, the craving grows. That's why silence always works its way under their skin. It forces them to sit with the absence, to feel the missing piece, to wrestle with the truth that they never truly replaced you. Think of it like fire, my friends. When you keep throwing wood on the flame, it blazes up wild and hot. But when you stop feeding it, when you let it starve, the flame doesn't just vanish instantly. It flickers, it smokes, it fights to stay alive. And in that dying struggle, the one who depended on its warmth starts to panic. That's your silence. The warmth they thought they'd always have suddenly goes cold. And in that cold, they remember. They remember the comfort of your words, the loyalty of your presence, the steady way you showed up. They remember, and that memory burns hotter than any fire you ever lit. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And silence changes their thoughts. At first, your presence allowed them to hide from themselves. They could cover their emptiness with your affection, hide their flaws behind your loyalty, distract themselves with your forgiveness. But now, without you filling the space, their thoughts begin to circle. They compare you to others. They measure what they once had against what they're left with, and the contrast hits harder every day. That's the cycle your silence breaks. It forces them into reflection they never wanted to face. And yes, it will be hard for you. It will feel like standing still while your whole body begs you to move. It will feel like watching a storm build while you want to scream over it. But hold the line, my friends. Hold steady. Because every day you stay silent, the power shifts more in your favor. Every moment you resist the urge to reach out, the cycle weakens, and the restless energy builds in them instead of in you. They'll try to fight it, deny it, distract themselves, but the truth cannot be outrun. They will feel it, they will notice, they will miss you. So here's what I want you to declare right now. Not tomorrow, not later, but in this very moment. Say it with me. Silence shifts the power. Write it in the comments so the world can see you've broken the cycle, so you can seal this truth not just in your mind, but out loud, written in front of everyone. Because when you write it, you don't just declare it, you step into it. Press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, my friends. Because this is just the beginning. Your silence has already broken the old cycle, and the move that comes next will change everything. Number 2. The move they never expect. Indifference. My friends, let's walk into the next chapter of this journey. You've learned by now that silence cracks the ground beneath their feet. But there is one move after silence that shakes them even more. One move they never saw coming. It isn't anger, it isn't revenge, it isn't you shouting your worth in their face. No, the move that breaks their pride and flips the entire game is something far colder, far quieter, and far more powerful: indifference. Think about it. When you were still caught in the cycle, every action of yours screamed that you still cared. Even your anger, even your tears, even the desperate late-night messages, they all told them the same thing: you still needed them. And as long as they believed that, they felt safe, even smug. They thought no matter how far they pushed, no matter how cruelly they acted, you would still circle back to them like a tide that never stops. But when silence sets in and indifference begins to bloom, something changes. You no longer move like the tide. You move like a mountain, still, unshaken, unbothered. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's what indifference is. It's not about pretending you don't feel pain. It's about mastering your mind so fully that their chaos can no longer reach you. It's the moment you stop needing them to validate you, stop measuring yourself by their attention, stop handing them control of your peace. And when that shift happens inside you, my friends, they feel it instantly. Imagine this. They scroll through their phone one night, half expecting to see your name pop up. Maybe out of habit, maybe out of arrogance, but nothing. No calls, no texts, no desperate "I miss you." And at first, they laugh to themselves, convinced you'll break any day now. But the days stretch into weeks. The silence doesn't crack. And then they see something that rattles them more than silence ever could. Your energy has changed. You're not waiting for them. You're not checking for them. You've moved into a space of quiet strength, a space where they no longer live at the center of your world. Carl Jung once wrote, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." And that, my friends, is what indifference truly is. It's choosing to become someone who no longer bleeds for people who never deserved your loyalty. It's choosing detachment, not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom, because bitterness still chains you to them, but indifference sets you free. Picture it like this. You once held their photo in your hand every night, staring at it, trying to make sense of the story. Now you put it down and walk out into the sun. You stop living in the shadow of who they were, and you start living in the light of who you're becoming. They notice it. Oh, trust me, they notice. Because human nature is twisted, people crave most what they no longer control. Your silence unsettled them, but your indifference terrifies them. And let's be honest, it won't be easy for you. Your mind will pull at you, whispering, "But what if I really let go? What if they never come back? What if I stop caring and that's the end?" Those questions are natural, but they're born from fear, not strength. Indifference demands courage. It asks you to place your peace above their pride, to walk away without bitterness, to live so fully that their absence no longer leaves a hole. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more. That is poor." Your indifference proves you no longer crave them. You are rich in self-control. You are rich in peace. And here's the irony. When you stop needing them, that's when they start needing you. When your energy shifts to, "I no longer care, I no longer need, I no longer chase," it unsettles every illusion they held about their power over you. They begin to wonder, to question, to ache. Because the one thing they never expected was to lose their grip on your heart. So let me leave you with this, my friends. Indifference is not coldness. It is strength. It is freedom. It is the final proof that you belong to yourself again. And once you step into that energy, you become untouchable. Say it with me right now. I choose indifference. Write it in the comments so it sinks into your bones, so the whole world can see that you've stopped craving what never valued you. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because your silence broke the cycle, but your indifference, that's the move that changes everything. Number 3. Curiosity as the new magnet. My friends, let's move deeper into this transformation, because silence and indifference are only the beginning. When those two forces meet, something begins to stir in their mind that they cannot escape: curiosity. At first, when you went quiet, they thought they knew the ending. They told themselves a simple story. They gave up. They're broken. They'll come back eventually. But when silence stretched into weeks and your energy shifted into true indifference, that story no longer fit. Suddenly, you were not broken. You were not waiting. You were not predictable anymore. And the human mind hates unfinished stories. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect, the truth that we remember incomplete experiences far more than finished ones. You, my friends, have become the unfinished story looping in their mind, the chapter that refuses to close. Picture it. They open their phone late at night, scrolling out of habit, maybe even looking for a sign of you. And when they don't see it, their thoughts betray them. Where are they? Who are they with? Why haven't they reached out? Why do I feel their absence more than I felt their presence? The silence that once felt like victory to them begins to turn into a question mark they can't erase. And the longer they don't know, the more their curiosity grows. Like a song that ends on the wrong note, it echoes in their head, unfinished, demanding resolution. At first, they try to ignore it. They laugh with friends, distract themselves with new people, post their smiles for the world to see. But underneath that surface, the loop never stops playing. They hear a song you once played for them, and the memory pulls them back. They pass by a place you once went together, and the silence feels heavier. They check their phone in the middle of the night, half expecting a message that isn't there. And with every unanswered moment, curiosity digs deeper into their chest. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And their thoughts now are poisoned by your absence. They can't stop replaying. They can't stop wondering. They can't stop imagining where you are and why you're no longer chasing. Because once curiosity plants its seed, it doesn't fade. It grows into obsession. Think of it like a locked book, my friends. They know the story isn't finished, but the final chapters are sealed away from them. They shake it. They stare at it. They imagine what's inside, but they will never read it. And that not knowing eats at them more than any truth ever could. Because closure is simple, but mystery is haunting. And you, in your silence and indifference, have become a mystery. But let me be real with you. It won't feel easy on your side either. You'll ask yourself, what if they really don't care? What if they never think of me again? That's your fear talking, not the truth. Human psychology proves it. They cannot let go of something that was never finished. Your absence is the loop that keeps running, the itch they can't scratch, the question they can't answer. And here's the beauty. You don't need to do anything extra. You don't need to post for attention. You don't need to hint at your life. The silence itself creates the magnet. The mystery itself does the work. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And that's what your absence forces them to do. They begin to realize that the silence doesn't just mean you've stepped back. It means you may have stepped forward into a life without them. And the possibility that you might already be smiling, already thriving, maybe even already in the arms of someone who sees your worth, that possibility burns them more than anything else. So hold your ground, my friends. Do not hand them the answers they crave. Do not break the silence to ease their curiosity. Because the not knowing is the hook. The mystery is the magnet. And every day you remain quiet and indifferent, their mind keeps spinning, their chest keeps aching, their thoughts keep circling back to you. Say it with me right now. My silence creates curiosity. Write it in the comments so it becomes a declaration, so the whole world can see that you're no longer chasing. You're becoming the mystery they can't solve. Press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because your silence is not emptiness. It is the magnet that keeps pulling them back, even when they swore they were gone. Number 4, the mirror of absence. They confront themselves. My friends, let me tell you something few people ever realize about silence and indifference. It's not only about what you no longer give them, it's about what they are forced to see when you take it all away. When you were there, your love, your patience, your constant giving acted like a shield for them. You covered their flaws with your loyalty. You softened their sharp edges with your forgiveness. You made excuses for their carelessness because you loved them enough to carry their weight on your shoulders. But the moment you stepped back, the moment your silence held firm and your indifference took root, the shield was gone. For the first time, they had to stand alone in front of themselves, and what stared back at them was not pretty. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." And that is exactly what begins to happen. Your absence becomes a mirror, a reflection that doesn't flatter them but exposes them. Every unanswered message, every day without your voice, every reminder that you no longer show up for them forces them to look at who they really are. They no longer see your presence smoothing over their cracks. They see their own emptiness staring back. And trust me, my friends, people will do almost anything to avoid facing that reflection. Imagine a person living in a messy room with the lights off. They walk around in the dark, pretending it's all fine. They trip over clutter, step past dust, ignore the dirt piling up in the corners. As long as the lights are off, they can keep the illusion alive. That was your presence. You were the darkness they used to hide their chaos. But the moment you left, the lights flipped on. Suddenly, they could no longer avoid the mess. The stains, the clutter, the neglect, it was all there, impossible to unsee. That's what your silence does. It turns the light on. It shows them the truth they've been running from. And the truth is this: without you, they don't like who they are. Your loyalty made them feel worthy. Your patience made them feel lovable. Your consistency made them feel stable. Without those things, they're confronted with the reality of their own selfishness, their own carelessness, their own inability to hold on to something rare. And it haunts them, because deep down they know they had someone extraordinary and they treated it like it was ordinary. But here's where it gets difficult. For you. Because your mind will try to trick you. You'll sit in your silence and wonder, what if they're happy without me? What if they never even think of me? What if the mirror doesn't matter to them? That's the lie your fear tells you. The reality is that people cannot escape themselves. They can distract, they can run, they can cover their reflection with 1,000 masks. But at the end of the day, when the noise fades and the mask falls, the mirror is still there. And you are that mirror, my friends. You are the reminder of what they lost, the reflection of what they squandered, the face of their own regret. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And right now, their thoughts are stained with the color of your absence. They compare new faces to yours. They measure shallow conversations against the depth you once gave. They try to fill the void, but every attempt only sharpens the contrast. And the more they fight it, the more the mirror burns. Picture them sitting across from someone new, forcing a laugh, pretending to be content. But then a thought slips in. This doesn't feel the same. They don't look at me the way you did. They don't bring the peace you brought. That thought doesn't fade, it multiplies. Or maybe late at night when the world is quiet, they roll over and reach for their phone out of habit, only to see nothing from you. That emptiness reflects back at them louder than any words you could have spoken. This is why your silence and indifference are so powerful, because words can be argued with, but a mirror cannot be denied. They may try to avoid it, but they cannot escape it, and the more they run, the more the reflection follows. So hold steady, my friends. Do not break the mirror by rushing back to save them from themselves, because the reflection they see in your absence is the lesson they need to face. And every day you remain still, that mirror grows sharper, clearer, and harder to avoid. Say it with me right now. I am the mirror. Write it in the comments so it anchors in your spirit, so the world knows you no longer beg, you reflect. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because the mirror of your absence is not just haunting them, it's teaching them. And that lesson, my friends, is the beginning of their regret and the birth of your power. Number 5. Comparison hurts them every time. My friends, here's where the story takes a turn they never expected. You see, when you walked away in silence, when you stopped feeding their ego with your presence, they thought replacing you would be easy. In their arrogance, they believed they could just pick someone new, plug them into the empty space you left, and move on without skipping a beat. That's how careless people think, that love, loyalty, and presence can be swapped out like changing clothes. But what they didn't know is that your absence plants something deeper than silence. It plants comparison, and comparison, my friends, cuts sharper than any sword. At first, they distract themselves. They laugh with someone new. They go on dates. They post their highlight reels for the world to see. They try to convince themselves and everyone else that they've already moved on. But deep inside, something feels off. The laughter doesn't echo the same way. The comfort doesn't come as easily. The conversations feel thin, like water with no depth. And without even realizing it, their mind begins doing what every human mind does. It compares. Psychologists call this the contrast effect. It's the way our brains measure the present against what we've experienced before. And you, my friends, set a standard they can't escape. Your loyalty, your patience, your laughter, your ability to understand them without words, that became their reference point. And now, every new connection falls short against the memory of you. They might not admit it out loud, but they feel it in every interaction. The truth is, once someone has tasted something real, everything shallow feels empty. Think of it like this. Imagine someone who has lived their whole life drinking cheap, instant coffee. Then one day, they taste the richness of fresh ground beans, smooth and strong. From that moment on, no matter how much they try, they can never go back to instant coffee without noticing the difference. That's what your love did. It spoiled them for ordinary. And now, no matter how many replacements they chase, nothing measures up. But here's where it gets fascinating, because even psychology confirms this. There's something called hedonic adaptation, which means people get used to things that once excited them. The new person they run to might feel thrilling at first, a rush of novelty, a distraction from the emptiness you left. But the excitement fades, as it always does. And when it fades, guess what comes back? Comparison. The memory of what you gave, the standard you set, the way you showed up when no one else did. And every time the new connection falls flat, the regret grows louder. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And here's the terror they face now. Because in the silence of your absence, they realize the problem was never you. It was them. They mistook your consistency for weakness, your loyalty for something ordinary, your forgiveness for something they could exploit forever. And now, in the arms of someone else, they are forced to face the truth. It wasn't ordinary. It was rare, and they lost it. Picture them sitting across from this new person, watching them speak, laugh, or argue. But in their mind, flashes of you appear. "You would have understood me better. You would have been patient here. You would have known how to calm me down. Those thoughts haunt them, not just once, but over and over, until comparison becomes their private torment. They can try to push it down, but the mind remembers, the heart remembers, and the contrast refuses to fade. And yes, my friends, I know silence feels like emptiness on your side. It feels like maybe they've replaced you, maybe they've forgotten you, maybe none of it mattered. But remember this, comparison is inevitable. The human brain cannot stop measuring the present against the past, and once you've been the best they've ever had, every attempt to replace you only sharpens their regret. So stay calm, stay stoic, do not rush to prove your worth, because your absence is already doing the work for you. Every laugh they force, every new person they chase, every smile they post is a mask, covering the weight of comparison they cannot escape. Say it with me right now, I am the standard. Write it in the comments so it becomes real, so the world knows you are not replaceable. You are the measure by which they'll judge everyone else. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because the comparison that haunts them now is not your burden to carry, it is their regret, and it grows heavier every single day. Number 6. The fear of replacement. Ego battles desire. My friends, this is the stage that always reveals the truth, the part they never imagined they would face. At first, when you fell silent, they leaned on their ego. They told themselves, I don't need them. I can replace them. I can live without them. Ego is loud like that. It shouts to cover the cracks, but the longer your silence holds, the louder something else begins to stir. It's not the ego this time, it's the heart. And the heart doesn't lie. The heart aches in ways pride can never silence. Imagine it like this. Your silence is a locked door. In the beginning, they stand in front of it with a smirk. They think, it doesn't matter if the door is closed. I have other doors to open. I'll find another way. And so they walk away. But every day, every week, something pulls them back. They pass by that door again, and curiosity begins to itch at them. What's behind it now? What's happening inside since I've been shut out? And with every day the door remains locked, their desire to knock grows stronger. Ego will fight it, of course. Ego tells them not to reach out, not to show weakness, not to risk rejection. They rehearse the lines in their head. I don't care. I've moved on. They meant nothing. But late at night, when the world goes quiet, the heart speaks louder. The heart whispers, what if I lost something rare? What if they're already gone? What if someone else has found the key to the door I can't open anymore? And that whisper grows heavier with every moment of silence you hold. Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. And right now, your silence proves that. Because while their mind fights in two directions, ego pulling one way, heart pulling the other, you remain steady, unmoved. That steadiness is what drives them restless. They cannot control you anymore, and that lack of control exposes the truth of their feelings. Picture them scrolling late at night, hand hovering over your name in their phone. Ego stops them from pressing it, but desire burns in their chest. Or imagine them telling their friends they've moved on, smiling like nothing bothers them. But inside, every day of your silence feels like another lock turning on that door, another reminder that they are on the outside now. And isn't it human nature, my friends, to want most what we can't have? Carl Jung once wrote, what you resist persists, and that is exactly their battle. The more they resist the urge to reach out, the more the urge grows. The more their ego denies it, the more their heart aches. Silence feeds the desire they thought they could bury, and sooner or later the pressure will break. They will knock on that door, so hold firm. Do not unlock it for them too soon. Let their ego battle their desire, because that battle is the proof that you mattered more than they ever admitted. Say it with me right now. They will knock. Write it in the comments so it seals in your spirit. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because every day your silence holds, the ache in their heart grows stronger, and sooner or later that locked door will be the only one they want to open. Number 7. The regret spiral. How they replay you in their mind. My friends, this is where the silence and indifference take on a life of their own. This is the part of the journey they never prepared for, the spiral of regret. And regret doesn't arrive like thunder crashing all at once. No, it creeps in stages, subtle at first, then sharper, until finally it consumes them. You must understand this spiral, because once you see it, you'll realize your silence is not emptiness. It's the steady drumbeat that drives them deeper into their own reckoning. The first stage is denial. In the beginning, they laugh. They convince themselves you're predictable, that your silence is temporary, that you'll come back as you always did. Ego feeds them lies. They can't live without me. This is just a phase. They strut around as if they've won, posting their smiles, pretending they've moved on. But denial is fragile, my friends. It cracks easily when the days of silence turn into weeks, when their phone stays empty, when your voice no longer fills their world. And so the spiral begins to turn, shifting into the second stage. Curiosity. They start wondering where you've gone. At first, it's just a thought. Then it becomes a whisper, and soon it's an itch they cannot scratch. They replay conversations in their head, scroll through old messages at night, linger on photos they once ignored. They ask themselves questions they can't answer. Why aren't they chasing me anymore? What are they doing now? Who are they with? That's the Zeigarnik effect at work, my friends. The mind cannot let go of an unfinished story. And your silence has left them with no ending, no closure, no explanation. Just a loop that replays endlessly in their mind. From curiosity comes the third stage, comparison. They try to replace you. They laugh with new faces. They talk with new voices, but something is always missing. Every new connection feels shallow next to the depth you once gave. Every laugh feels forced compared to the ease they had with you. And whether they admit it or not, their mind starts measuring. That's the contrast effect. The brain cannot help but compare the present with the past. And you, my friends, set the standard. Once they've known the richness of your loyalty, the steadiness of your presence, the uniqueness of your love, every imitation falls flat. And the gap between what they have now and what they once had with you begins to ache like an open wound. Then comes the fourth stage, missing you. At first, they brushed off their thoughts as nostalgia, but now it's heavier. They hear a song and your memory floods in. They pass a place you once visited together, and the silence around them feels unbearable. They roll over at night, reaching for their phone, and realize there's nothing from you anymore. And the ache grows. They don't just remember you, they feel your absence in their bones. The comfort you once gave is no longer there, and they can't ignore it. And finally, the spiral reaches its last stage, panic. This is the moment when denial can no longer shield them, when curiosity has grown into obsession, when comparison has carved a deep wound, when missing you has become unbearable. Panic strikes with questions that steal their sleep. What if I lost them forever? What if they've moved on? What if someone else is holding what I threw away? My friends, this is the moment they realize the silence wasn't weakness. It was the wall that locked them out. And that wall terrifies them. Picture it. They sit in the dark, scrolling back through your old texts, rereading words they once ignored. They linger on your photos, staring longer than they'd ever admit. Their chest feels heavy. their mind restless, their heart aching with the realization they may have lost the best thing they ever had. That's the spiral of regret. It doesn't end in laughter, it ends in panic. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And now, their thoughts are dyed with you, your voice, your presence, your absence. They cannot wash it away, no matter how hard they try. So don't doubt your silence, my friends. Don't believe the lie that they don't notice, that they don't care. The spiral is real, and once it begins, it does not let go. Say it with me right now: my silence creates regret. Write it in the comments so it becomes truth for you, so the world can see your strength. Press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because the spiral is already pulling them down, and while they drown in their regret, you rise in your power. Number 8. The return. Why they come back. My friends, here is where everything we've talked about comes full circle. You've walked through the silence, you've stepped into indifference, you've become the mirror of their absence, and you've watched them wrestle with comparison, curiosity, and regret. And now we reach the part they never saw coming, the return. Because here's the truth: silence is the seed, indifference is the water, and regret is the storm. And when all three collide, something inside them breaks. The very people who thought you'd never walk away, the ones who believed they could replace you like it was nothing, end up circling back. At first, they fought it. Their ego told them you were gone, and it didn't matter. They convinced themselves you'd break the silence, that you'd come running back, that your loyalty would outweigh your strength. But the days stretched into weeks, and the weeks into months. They waited for you to crack, but instead you grew stronger. You became someone new, calm, steady, thriving. And nothing shakes the foundation of a person more than realizing they lost someone who didn't need them after all. Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." And that's exactly what you did, my friends. You chose to become untouchable. You didn't let rejection define you. You didn't let betrayal break you. You didn't let silence shrink you. Instead, you used it as soil, and from it, you grew. That's why their return is inevitable, not because you begged for it, not because you chased it, but because they cannot escape the storm of regret that follows them everywhere. Picture it like a tree, my friends. You planted the seed of silence. At first, it looked like nothing. To them, it was just emptiness. But then you watered it with indifference. You stopped reacting, stopped chasing, stopped showing that they controlled your emotions. And quietly, beneath the surface, roots took hold. Then came the storm, comparison, regret, curiosity eating at them, memory chasing them in the quiet hours of the night. And that storm drives them back to the tree they once mocked. They return to the very presence they thought they could live without. Imagine them sitting in their room, scrolling late at night, hovering over your name in their phone. Their ego still hesitates, whispering, "Don't reach out. Don't show weakness." But their heart aches louder, begging for relief, begging for the comfort of your voice, begging for the light you once brought to their life. And eventually, pride loses the fight. Because human nature is simple, we crave most what we can no longer control. And your silence, your indifference, your thriving has proven one thing they never wanted to believe. They lost control of you. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." And that's the beauty here, my friends. You don't have to seek revenge. You don't have to chase. You don't have to prove your worth. Your life itself becomes the answer. You thriving without them becomes the loudest message of all. And that message is what pulls them back, restless, sleepless, haunted by the thought that they might have thrown away the rarest thing they'll ever know. And when they do return, and trust me, they will, you'll notice something. The power has shifted. You're no longer the one waiting. You're no longer the one chasing. You've risen, you've reclaimed yourself, and their return is no longer your victory. The real victory is this: you didn't need it. You already won by becoming everything they thought you couldn't be. So hold steady, my friends. Let the seed grow. Let the water nourish. Let the storm rage. Because when silence, indifference, and regret complete their work, they will come back. Not because you begged, not because you fought, but because your absence turned into the presence they can't escape. Say it with me right now: after silence I rise, and they always return. Write it in the comments so it anchors in your spirit, so the world can see your strength. Press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because this is the truth. Your silence was never the end. It was always the beginning. And the ending they never saw coming is this: they return and you rise.